total number of terminals must be 4. So 2 terminals are utilized for input and 2 terminals are utilized for output. Hence, out of the 3 terminals, we have to take 1 terminal as a common terminal. So based on your common terminal, so as we already know that a transistor is a 3-terminal device, but it requires 4 terminals to find your input and output characteristics. 2 terminals for your input, 2 terminals for the output. Hence, one of the 3 terminals must be connected as a common terminal between your input and output. So hence, we have total number of configurations are 3 configurations, and now so these 3 configurations characteristic each one we have to discuss. Okay, right. So now in order to find your common base input and output characteristics, here this is the circuit of your common base configuration circuit to find your input and output characteristics. So input characteristics and output characteristics are defined with its input voltages and input current and input output voltages and output current. Hence we connected your voltmeter as well as an ammeter at the input as well as at the output side. Okay, right. So as I take your base as a common terminal, hence it is a common base configuration, and I connected my input at your emitter terminal, and I will collect the output from its collector terminal. So now, as we already discussed that, so in order to bias your transistor or to have the flow of current from its input to output, we have to connect the DC signals, where this DC signals VEE and VCC can bias your input junction and output junction. So input junction, so as I wanted to put my transistor under active region, hence my input junction must be forward biased, output junction must be reverse biased. So now your input junction is as I take your transistor is a NPN transistor, hence we connected this VEE to the emitter terminal through this spot. So a potentiometer we used here. So now this is it is a protected resistor, so which can avoid the unwanted signals which comes out. So the supply, due to your supply fluctuations, if you have a abrupt voltages, so that can damage your device. So hence, in order to avoid that situation, so we connected one pot or one series resistance at the input side. So VE is connected. This is the DC signal where which can forward bias your input junction. So emitter is, I am taking an NPN. Emitter is of N type, base is of P type, collector is of N type. Hence we connected the negative electrode of VEE to the N type material, and the positive electrode of the DC supply VEE is connected to the base of my transistor. So with this, we can apply a forward bias at the input junction of your transistor. Next, output junction must be reverse biased. So your output junction in a transistor is in between the collector and base junction. So collector and base region. So that output junction, when I wanted to reverse bias, as we know that collector is a N-type material, we connected from this DC supply VCC the positive electrode through this resistor, and the negative electrode is connected to the common terminal or to the ground. Okay, hence here the base is grounded. We can also call this as a base grounded base is connected, or we can call this as a grounded base configuration. We could call this as a common base configuration, or we could call this as a grounded base configuration, since we connected the base to the common ground. So emitter is used as input terminal and collector is used as the output terminal. So in order to note it down, to find your input characteristics and output characteristics, we connected the voltmeter, ammeter at the input side as well as at the output side. So this voltmeter will give you the input voltage, and this readings on your ammeter will give you the current, input current I. Whereas at the output side, the voltmeter will give the readings of output voltage, and this ammeter will give you the current, which is the output current, collector current, IC. So now let me move to the characteristics. How to find the input and output characteristics. So our input characteristics can be defined as, so this can be drawn in between the input voltage with respect to its input current by taking the output voltage constant. So now here it's a common base configuration. Hence your input voltage is a emitter to base voltage and your input current is a emitter current. Your output voltage must be a collector to base. So here we have to vary the input voltage and we'll find it out what is the amount of input current. So for the variation of the input voltage. So let me start with your input voltage variation from 0 onwards until it is gradually increased till the maximum value of your input voltage, which is VEB, with a constant output voltage. So we'll start the characteristics. We'll find the characters. We'll note it down the characteristics by just taking the output voltage initially with 0. Thereafter, it must be increased slowly with the magnitudes of maximum values. So let me first start with the VCB 0. So how we get that VCB is 0 is just by putting your VCC to minimum position, so which is under 0 position. So this DC supply, when it is applied with 0, so VCB become 0. So then we will gradually increase our VEE. When you increase gradually the VEE voltage, then we'll find for every variation in the VEE, we'll note it down the VEB value and its corresponding current I. So like that we will vary, or we will find your input characteristics. So this is the curve, so which gives the characteristics curve, which gives the input characteristics. So on x-axis we took the input voltage, on y-axis we took the input current with the magnitudes of your output voltage constant. So let me started with your VCB equal to 0. So when VCB is 0, so I gradually increased my VEB from 0.1 onwards. So 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. So as we already know that base to emitter junction is a 1 PN junction diode. So until unless you have nullified the barrier potential, you doesn't have any carrier current from its input to the, or from your P terminal to the N type material. So positive, your P type material is N type material is of N type emitter, and P type material is base here. So the carriers will move from your emitter to base when only. So this can happen by applying your voltage on your emitter base junction, which is above the cut-in voltage. If you doesn't apply that voltage above the cut-in voltage, there is no flow of carriers from one material or one type of material to the other type. So no carriers will move from emitter region into the base region. Since that, so until unless the cut-in voltage is applied with your input, the carrier movement may not be taken place. Hence, the amount of current IE, or the input current, is 0. So once you nullify the barrier potential, so then So there is a start of the current which or the carriers will move from your emitter region into the base region, which can takes place the emitter current to flow from one region to the another region. So with that, so your emitter current or the input current is increasing exponentially. So like this, so we will note it down the variation in the input current with respect to your fixed values of output junction voltage with with your input voltage variation from zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.8 onwards. As we already know that, so when you are going on increasing my input voltage till the 15 voltage, but the junction voltage become saturated with zero point 0.6 or zero point 0.7. If it is a germanium diode, it will be zero point 0.3 or zero point 0.2. So then, so here, when the carriers are moving from one region to the another region, the base width will decrease since that you are applying the VCB, which is greater than 1 volt or greater than the 0 volts. When I'm going on increasing my collector to base junction voltage or the output junction voltage, so this can apply a reverse bias on your output junction. So the barrier potential will increase the width of the width of the barrier potential is increased at the output junction, since that the base width, the physical base width will be reduced. When the physical base width is reduced, the base current will be negligible. So hence here, when the base current is negligible, the emitter current, whatever the emitter current you are transferring from input signal, that approximately equal to collector So increasing your VCB will also increase the emitter current. Here, the characteristics curves will be moved towards the left side of the curve, which is initially taken the outage with 0 volts. So like this, so we'll note it on the input and we'll find input resistance or the dynamic input resistance, the combination, the rate of voltage with respect to your input current. So now the change we start resistance taken as show EB at your I. The resistance is calculated by taking the change in the basic voltage VE with respect to the change in emitter current, which could give the input resistance of common base configuration. Okay, right. So next, output characteristic with respect to IPC milliamps can be obtained by applying the voltage on your input junction VEE, which is less than 0 point or the cut-in voltage of your junction diode. If it is silicon, 0.7, you have to apply the voltage which is less than 0.7. If it is germanium, you have to apply less than 0.3 volts. Then you doesn't have any emitter current at the input junction. With that, we can obtain the emitter current which is 0 milliamps. So when emitter current is 0 milliamps, so you apply the reverse bias voltage, so which is gradually increased from 0 to 14 volts in steps. So you don't have any collector current IC. So that collector current becomes 0. So with that, so here it is independent of your collector current or the output current in common base configuration is independent of its variation in the output junction voltage. So it doesn't depend on the variation. So it is just independent of your output junction voltage. As here the carriers which can move from your emitter and that entered into the base, then after this can these carriers which are there in the base region can be pulled out by this reverse bias voltage, so VCB. So only for that applications we are just applying here reverse bias voltage, but it doesn't depend on that gradual increase in the current with respect to the output voltage may not be taken place in your output characteristics. So here it depends only on the carriers which can enter into the region of collector, depends on the input voltage which you apply onto the transistor, input bias voltage which you apply on the transistor. So if IE is 0, then IC also 0. If IE is 1 milliamp, then IC is also 1 milliamp. So this right side part of your output voltage will apply a reverse bias, whereas the left side part of your voltages which are negative on your output voltages or your output junction voltages, which can forward bias your output junction. So this negative voltage -1, -2, -3. So these negative voltages can bias your output junction to forward. So if I have the forward bias on my input junction, eventually the collector current increasing abruptly to 1 milliamp. Here abruptly to this sharp increase in this collector current denotes this state is a saturation region, since our input and output junctions are forward biased. So now this region, so where this region is called, so the region which is below the IE is 0, so this region is called cutoff region, whereas the VCB which is for the output junction voltage, if it is negative, then this shows the saturation region, because your output junction is also forward bias, so more amount of charge carriers are available at the output terminal, since your output junction is also forward. So you have a abrupt change in the sudden change in your collector current. So 1 and here it is 2. So if, with a smaller variation in your collector to base voltages, which can take place your output junction to forward, that can forward bias your output junction, hence that current is increasing rapidly. So with a 3, so if it is IE is 3, so you would also have IC is 3. IE 4, then we have a 4. So IE 5, then we have a 5. So if I am going on increasing this VCB till to the more positive voltages, then this characteristics will reach to the breakdown region, as your reverse bias on your junction is increasing, output junction. So with that, so your current is increasing abruptly to a maximum values with a but this is not your safest point, so this is known as a breakdown region, which can damage your device. So we could not apply this voltages to that device of the transistor. Okay, so breakdown region, so we should not operate your transistor under breakdown region. So next, so from this output characteristics, let's we find it out the output resistance by taking the change in your output voltage with respect to your change in output collector current, which can give you a dynamic output resistance of its common base configuration. Next, so now in DC mode level, so your output, you have to find the what is the total gain of the circuit. So in order to find that a total current gain of the circuit, we have to take the measures on your DC mode. So by just taking the ratio of its DC quantities of collector current and emitter or the input current, so output current to input current, we will find your gain. So that gain is defined with a alpha. So this is the alpha or alpha DC, we'll call this as a alpha is equal to IC divided by IE. So it is the ratio of collector current to the emitter current or output current to the input current in any configuration. Since it is a common base configuration, output current is collector current and your input current is a emitter current. Alpha is the common base current gain. Alpha is the common base current gain. As we already know that IC is here from this relation, we could tell that IC is total amount of collector current is equal to alpha times of IE plus of ICBO. What is this ICBO is a reverse saturation current, or we could tell that this is a leakage current. So whenever the emitter terminal, if your emitter terminal is left open, so your emitter is a input terminal in your configuration. So whenever the input terminal is left open, that amount of current, a small amount of current is flowing due to your applied reverse bias on your output junction. So when your output junction is reverse bias, small amount, the minority charge carriers will gain the energy and it can cause the junction, which could constitute a current called as the reverse saturation current. And that reverse saturation current can be obtained in your common base configuration by increasing with a greater reverse voltages. When you apply a greater reverse voltage, then only we could have this leakage current. So this leakage current is defined whenever the input terminal is left open, that means your emitter terminal is left open, and for a greater applied reverse voltages, so you have some amount of current which is flowing through your output junction. That current is known as the leakage current or your reverse saturation current. As this leakage current, if you doesn't give your greater output voltages or your breakdown voltages on your output junction, that quantity of ICBO is very less, so you could also ignore this current. So hence here IC is equal to alpha IP. So now for an AC situation, so if I am applying an AC signal in addition with this DC signals, so then so this can also be written as the current gain is written as, sometimes it is also called as a HFE. So this can be written as alpha is equal to delta IC divided by change in IC with respect to your change in I. So alpha is the common base current gain. As we already know that if I ignore the base current, so then the magnitude of collector current approximately equal to the magnitude of your emitter current. Hence, so the value of your alpha is in between. Ideally, it is 1 as we assume your IC is equal to IE, but practically this collector current may not be equivalent to the emitter current since we have a base current. So hence the value of your alpha is in between 0.9 to 0.998. So the typical values of your alpha is 0.9 to 0.998. So with this, the current gain is very less. So current is not amplified. So hence this common base configuration is not utilized as a current amplifier or a voltage amplifier. So since your common base configuration is current amplifier, you could not use your common base configuration as a current amplifier since my gain of the current gain of the common base is 1. So which cannot amplify the current output current with a factor of alpha, as alpha is approximately equal to 0.9 to 0.998. We could not use this configuration as a current amplifier. But here the output resistance is maximum, hence we could use this as a buffer amplifier. So common base can be utilized. So as your current here, the output resistance is the ratio of your VCB with respect to your collector current IC. So in a common base configuration, the output resistance is very high. So we could use this as a buffer amplifiers. Next, common emitter configuration. I like your common base configuration. Here we have to take the emitter terminal as connected to the ground or a common. So now I took the emitter as a common terminal and it is connected to the ground. So in between your input and output terminal, I took this emitter as a common terminal and we connected to the ground. So here the base is the input terminal and collector is the output terminal. Hence we connected the DC supply at the input VBB and here we just denoted with the VCC. So this DC signals on input side and output side can bias your input junction to forward and output junction to reverse. So hence we connected these two DC signals VBB and VCC. So now as like a common base, so we should also calculate the or we have to define the input characteristics and output characteristics to find the parameters of your each configuration. Now, so this is your input characteristics as I took here on your y-axis your input current which is base current and on x-axis we took the voltage on x-axis where input voltage is base to emitter junction voltage which is represented with volts. So now so which will again give you the like your PN junction diode, it will give an exponential nature curves. So we would have the voltages which are output voltages must be kept constant. So initially we took with the VCE 0. So thereafter we took the VCE with the 1 volt and 10 volt as well as your 20 volts. So to determine your input characteristics, the collector to base voltage must the collector to emitter voltage must be kept constant. So emitter voltage must be kept constant and at a 0 and the base current IB is increased from 0 by increasing your base to emitter voltage. So this is repeated for your fixed values of VCE. So with a 10, 20, 30 like that we are going to increase the output junction voltages and we will gradually increase the base to emitter junction voltage and we will find your base current. What is the amount of input current that flowing through your junction? So which I represented in microamps as we already know that in a transistor, though it is a common you are connecting at your input. So base current is always very less, hence the base region is lightly doped. The carriers available in the base region is very less and base to emitter junction forward back. Hence you have around so 10 to 100 micro amps, 100 to 200 like that we have the current. And now based on this base current, we would have your collector current. So a curve is drawn between your base current and your base to emitter voltage at a constant collector emitter voltage which defines the input characteristic. So here we will find the input resistance by taking the ratio of your input voltage with respect to your input current. So as here the input voltage is VBE. So input resistance is ratio of your input to output, sorry, input current. So IB. So next RI is equal to VBE divided by IB. So approximately it will be, and you will get in terms of kilo ohms as IB is in microamps and VB is very less. So approximately we'll get in terms of kilo ohms or ohms. So next output characteristics of your common emitter configuration. So here the output voltage on x-axis we have taken as VCE and the output collector current is collector current IC. So now so here by taking your base current constant, so IB is 0 milliamps. So with a 0 microamps to 90 microamps, we just have increased our base current with the constant magnitudes. So then we will find here what is the variation in the collector current by increasing your collector to emitter voltage. So as this also the same like your common base configuration, it doesn't depend on your variation in the collector to emitter voltages, but it depends only on your the applied voltages on your base to emitter junction voltage. So here IB when it is 0, so I is approximately equal to IC. So here, so 10 microamps, so we have a gradual increase in this. So next like this we'll calculate or we'll draw the output characteristics of your common emitter configuration. So this was your saturation region where the current is increasing rapidly. So that comes to your saturation, and this part of the circuit is the active region where it is increasing linearly. So next, this part of your waveform will give you the mm, this part of your characteristics will give you the cutoff region where the base current is the characteristics which can below your IB, or the magnitudes of your collector current which is negative will comes under your cutoff region, as your base to emitter voltage is 0. So since that your base current is 0, so when your input junction is reverse biased as well as your output junction is reverse biased, your transistor is put under your cutoff region. When your transistor is under cutoff region, there is no carriers are moving from input terminal to the output terminal. Hence, the amount of current is 0. So the IC, the region where you have the collector current is 0, that region is called as a cutoff region. So the region where you have the sudden change in the current or a abrupt change in the current, that region is called as your saturation region. And where you have the linear region with respect to your input currents or your output voltages, so that region is known as the active region. So here in active region, transistor is acting like an amplifier. In saturation region, transistor is acting like a switch. So cutoff also, it can act like an off switch. Next, these are the three regions. So base to emitter junction forward bias, collector to base junction is reverse biased in your active region, and it can be employed for voltage amplifications, current amplifications, as well as your power amplifications. Whereas in saturation region, base to emitter junction, collector to base junction is forward bias, both junctions are forward bias. Thus, the values of your IB and IC is very high. So hence the values of your VC is collector to emitter voltages are small. So it is a suitable region for a transistor which can be utilized as a logical switch. So you could also construct a transistor which is operated under saturation region, and that can be utilized as a NOT gate. So NOT gate is your digital, not to implement your digital logical gates also, we could use this as a NOT gate. So your transistor when it is operated in saturation, it can be utilized as a NOT gate. Next, region which is below the base current is 0 microamps. So that region is called as a cutoff region, and we can obtain this cutoff region by taking or by applying base to emitter junction and collector to base junction, both are reverse biased. So hence here the base current is 0, IC is not 0 at this cutoff region. Since the output junction is reverse biased, some small amount of leakage current is flowing through that junction, so which is IC is equal to ICCEO. So where this can happen only when your input terminal is left open. Okay, then only we have this amount of current which is the leakage current in your transistor. Next, so we as like your common base configuration, here also we have a current gain or the amplification factor. We have to find that amplification factor depends on the amount of current flow at the output terminal with respect to your input terminal. Okay, so here the output collector current output current is your collector current, and your input current is your base current. So the amplification factor is the ratio of your output current to input current. So hence it is IC divided by IB. So here, as IB is in terms of microamps, so IC is in the range of milliamps. So around your beta DC is around 30 to 400. So it must be the minimum value is 30 and the maximum value we could obtain as a 400. So now beta DC, as this also be represented as HFE in your AC signal analysis. So in some data sheets of your transistor also it can be represented as HFE. HFE leads the H parameter model. So if I am going to do the AC analysis, so then I have to apply an AC signal to that transistor. So when we are doing that analysis, so we will do the analysis using the hybrid parameter model, and that hybrid parameter model can be represented with H symbol. So we would represent that as a HFE. HFE indicates the forward current gain, or the AC analysis current amplification factor is defined with HFE. Forward current gain is defined with HFE. Next, the relationship between alpha and beta, as alpha is the common base current gain and beta is the common emitter current gain. So now, as we already know that from a transistor analysis, so as emitter current is equal to IC plus IB and IC is equal to beta IB. Here I just substituted instead of IC as directly with a beta IB, then we would have the emitter current is equal to beta plus 1 times of IB. So now the amplification factor of common base current gain is IC divided by IE, and whereas here IC is equal to, now IE is equal to IC divided by alpha. Now beta is the amplification factor in your common emitter configuration IC by IB. So where IB is equal to IC divided by beta. So now substituting your the second and the third into your first equation. These are the two equations we have, 2 and 3. So if I substitute these 2 and 3 in your first equation, then we would have this alpha. So here IE is equal to IC by alpha and IB is equal to IC by beta. So let us substitute that in your first equation. Then we would have here alpha is equal to beta divided by, let us substitute here. So IE is equal to IC divided by alpha, which is equal to beta plus 1 into of IB is equal to IC divided by beta. So as IC gets cancelled, then our alpha is equal to beta divided by 1 plus beta. Alpha is equal to beta divided by 1 plus beta. So now beta, if I wanted to give the relation in between your beta and alpha, so beta must be is equal to alpha divided by 1 minus alpha. So I have the relation between your alpha and beta. Alpha is equal to beta divided by 1 plus beta. From this we could also get the relation between beta and alpha, as beta is equal to alpha divided by 1 minus alpha. So this equation, from this equation we derive the beta is equal to alpha divided by 1 minus alpha. Like this we have here relation between your common base current gain with your common emitter current gain, or the amplification factors. Next, common collector configuration. Here is the common collector configuration, where this is also called as a grounded collector configuration or emitter follower. So the name is also included. Like in the previous configurations, only those are called as grounded emitter, grounded base configurations. But here we will also have the third name for this common collector. This is also called as a emitter follower, because we are collecting the output current at your emitter terminal in your collector configuration, common collector configuration. So as I take this collector as a common, and we are applying the input voltages at your base junction, and we are collecting the output current from its emitter terminal. So your input current must be a base current, and your output current is the emitter current. So input voltage is base to collector voltage, and your output voltage is emitter to collector voltage. So these are the input characteristics of the common collector configuration. On x-axis, on the horizontal line, we have taken the collector to base voltage, and here on y-axis we have taken, or the vertical axis, we have taken the base current is the input current. And by just keeping the input voltages, which is 2 volts, 4 volts, so like that we are going on keeping a constant output voltages, and we'll verify the variation in the base current. So now for the applied voltage, if I am going on increasing the collector to base junction voltage, the current is reduced, since it is a, so it's a reverse bias voltage on your output junction. When the output junction voltage is increasing, the base width is reducing, the available carriers in that base width is reduced, hence the base current is decaying. So next, here also for the greater values of your collector to base junction voltage, the base current is falling. Okay, so for a lesser voltages of your collector to base junction voltage, you have the maximum current. When you going on increasing your collector to base junction reverse bias voltages, so then we would have the decay in the base current. So hence here the value of your output voltage VCE, which will changes with respect to your input voltages, as well as we will note it down the base current, and from this we could find your the input resistance by taking your input voltage with respect to its input current. So VCB divided by IB, as IB is the range of microamps, so hence the amount of input resistance of common collector configuration is very high compared to the all the three configurations. So it is very high. So hence we could use this for as an impedance matching devices. So we could use your common collector configuration can be used as an input, high input, which is having the high input. So in order to avoid your loading effects, we could use this configuration or the amplifier, right? Next, output characteristics. So of common collector configuration, so output voltage is VCE, and your output current is emitter current. Just by keeping your input current constant, so with the magnitudes of IB 0, 10 to 60, as well as till your 100 microamps, you could increase your base current by varying your input voltages. So like your common emitter configuration, we would have the linear region in your active region, and we would have the rapid change in the current, emitter current in your saturation, and there is no amount of flow of current in your cutoff region. So here, so your output resistance, as IE is approximately equal to IC, here the amount of current gain here alpha is equal to, so output current is IE and your input current is IB. So output current gain is high in your common collector configuration. So here we could note it down that amplification factor gamma with the letter gamma, and that is the ratio of your output current to the input current in your common collector configuration. Output current is emitter current, and your input current is the base current. So as I compare my emitter current and base current, as base current is in microamps, so and your emitter current is in milliamps, hence here the amplification factor we would get very high compared to the all the three configurations. So the current gain is high in your common collector configuration, as well as the input resistance is also very high in your common collector configuration. But the voltage gain approximately here, voltage gain is the ratio of your output voltage to the input voltage, as output voltage is connected to emitter voltage and your input voltage is base to emitter voltage. So approximately these two are equal. As we have a relation in your transistor, the amount of emitter to collector voltage is equal to collector to base junction voltage plus of your base to collector to base junction, as the last it must be is equivalent to base to emitter voltage. So now this base to emitter junction voltage is approximately equal to 0.7. So hence here the collector to emitter voltage is approximately equal to the collector to base junction voltage. So the voltage gain of common collector configuration is approximately equal to 1. So this is a common amplification factor, which is gamma is change in emitter current with respect to the change in base current, or your change in output current to the change in input current. So now we would also have a relation between your alpha as well as your gamma. So now as alpha is the amplification factor of common base, change in IE with respect to your change in IB. So here IE is equal to IC plus of IB. So change in IE is equal to change in IC plus change in IB, as IB is replaced with delta IE minus of delta IC. So gamma is equal to delta IE. I replaced IB with delta IE minus of delta IC. Here alpha is, sorry ma, it is IC, not IE. IC divided by IB. So delta IE divided by delta IE. So let us just divide this numerator and denominator with the delta IE. Then we would have here delta IE divided by delta IE will get a numerical 1, and here also we'll get 1 minus of delta IC divided by delta IE. So which is equal to, so delta IC divided by delta IE will get the alpha is delta IC divided by delta IE. So 1 by 1 minus alpha is equal to gamma. So 1 by 1 minus alpha is equal to gamma. Alpha is equal to beta divided by 1 plus beta, and beta is equal to alpha divided by 1 minus alpha. So from this we could also give the relation between alpha, beta and gamma. So this circuit is mainly used for the amplification. So because of this arrangement, input resistance is high and output resistance is low. Voltage gain is very low, approximately equal to 1. So and the current gain is high, so very high compared to the other three configurations, and it can be used as an impedance matching device. So these are the comparisons between all the three configurations. So common base, common emitter, common collector. So input impedance of common base low, common emitter medium, common collector high, output impedance of common base is very high, it's high, and common collector is very low. So next, the phase shift between your input and output. So if I apply an AC signal to that common base emitter or collector configurations or amplifiers, so we doesn't have any phase shift at your common base amplifier, hence it is a 0 degrees. So in common collector also we doesn't have any phase shift, only the one we have an out of phase, so the output is out of phase with its input in your common emitter configuration, hence we have a phase shift of 180 degrees. So next, voltage gain of common base is high and the common emitter is medium, where common collector is approximately equal to 1. So or it is low. Current gain of common base is low. Common emitter is medium. Common collector is high. Power gain of your common base is low, very high, and it's medium. So on an average here, so we could use as the characteristics are moderate in your common emitter configuration, hence so the general amplifier is here. So if I wanted to amplify my voltage signal, so the general amp for the general amplifications voltage amplifier, I could prefer the common emitter amplifier rather than your common base or common collector. And this common base is used as a buffer amplifier since it is having the output impedance is very high. So it can be utilized as a buffer amplifier, or it can be utilized as a buffer amplifier. Next, common collector configuration, since it is having the highest input impedance, so we could use this as a high impedance matching device to avoid your loading effects. So what does mean by loading effect is, so every device needs some current to drive. So in order to drive those devices, so which require some large amount of current, so when we require a large amount of current, so it require a smallest amount of resistance as the input resistance. So now if you have the highest input impedance, the amount of current which can be very less. So with a finite amount of currents, we could drive that devices if we have the highest input impedance. So in order to avoid the loading effects, so we could use here common collector configurations. So now these are the typical values of your each configurations. Input resistance of common base around 100 ohms. In CE it is around 750, and I said highest input resistance is common collector, around it is 750 kilo ohms. So around it is in the range of approximately less than 1 mega ohm. So output resistance of common base is high, about 450, and moderate about 45, and if it is which is having a low output resistance, so it is 25 ohms. So next, current gain of your common base is 1, since the collector current and your the amplification factor alpha is around 0.9 to 0.95. So hence it is approximately, ideally it is 1. This is high, as well as collector common collector is also high. Voltage gain is 150, common emitter 500, but here in common collector configuration, as VCB is equal to VCE, so we have here the voltage gain in your common collector is equal to less than 1. So as an voltage amplifier, we could not prefer the common collector configuration. So next, the phase shift between your input and output of your common base is 0 degrees, or we could write that as a 2 pi radians or 360 degrees. So we would have a out of phase at your output, because my output is not in phase with the input, it is having a 180 degrees phase shift. So for a positive cycle of input, you will get the negative cycle of output. For the negative cycle of input, you will getting the positive cycle of output at your common emitter amplifier. So hence we have the output is out of phase with its input. So hence that out of phase is the numerical value of that out of phase must be a 180 degrees. Next here, it doesn't have any phase difference in between the input and output. Hence the phase difference in common collector is 0 or 360 degrees. Now applications, these are utilized for the high frequency at your high frequencies, and these are utilized for audio frequency amplifications, and this common collector is utilized for the impedance matching devices. Okay, so this is about your configurations. Now do you have any doubts regarding that? Do you have any doubts? Can I move to your next topic? Okay, so biasing. So in order to introduce this biasing, let me first introduce about what is the importance of your biasing, why we require the biasing in your in a amplifier. So thereafter we will move to the how many types of biasing techniques and which is suitable for a proper biasing of your transistor, which I wanted to use as an amplifier. So now biasing. So what does mean by a biasing is, so the for any designing of amplifier. So this amplifier requires your you would have the knowledge of your both the AC and the DC analysis, as we already have an idea about your DC analysis by just taking its input and output characteristics of each configuration. We would have that what is the input resistance, what is the amplification factor, what does mean by voltage gain, what does mean by output impedance, and which is preferable as an amplifier, voltage amplifier, which will be used as an buffer amplifier. So these all the things we could analyze using your DC characteristics, but as an voltage amplifier, which you can prefer, that can be obtained by using the concept of your biasing. So this biasing is done with your DC portion, so which can be analyzed with a DC portion, as well as it can also be analyzed with a AC portion. So biasing is application of your DC voltages to the establish the fixed levels on your output voltages. So applications of your DC voltages. Is my voice is breaking? Okay, right. So do you have any doubts? The last configurations, three configurations. Okay, right. So now So biasing is application of your DC voltages, which can establish the fixed levels of output voltages on a transistor. Now let me move to that. So this is defined as a biasing. So now, so in order to turn the device on, so we wanted to amplify our AC input signal. In addition with that, we should have to on your transistor. So your transistor is an active device which can be switched on with your proper DC voltages. So what does mean by proper DC voltages? Which makes your input junction forward, output junction reverse. So in order to forward bias your input junction, there is a requirement of your DC signal, as well as to reverse bias your output junction. There is another requirement of your DC signal is required to reverse bias your output junction. So which can, so these two DC voltages can make the fixed points of voltages on a transistor. So with that we could get the output currents. So when you superimpose an AC signal, so with its additional DC signal which can turn on your device or you turn on your transistor, that can have the amplification factor. So amplification of voltage can take place only when you properly bias your transistor, and that properly biasing can be done with your fixed voltages which are applied at the input and the output junction. So why we require this DC biasing is in order to reduce the distortions at the output signal, as well as to limit the clipped output signals at the output. So we are transferring the full cycle of input which is having the positive and as well as the negative cycle. Then both we are giving the positive magnitudes as well as the negative magnitudes of AC signals we are giving as an input. And if it doesn't bias your circuit properly, you would have the clipped output signals at your output of the amplifier. So in order to avoid that or to limit the clipped outputs, so we have to properly bias your circuit. Now these are the relations of your transistor, basic transistor, as IE is equal to IC plus IB, and beta is the amplification factor of your common emitter, so which is equal to IC by IB. So as IE is equal to replaced IC with beta plus 1 times of your IB, so which is approximately equal to IC. Now the collector to base voltage is equal to VCE minus of VB, as VB is equal to the summation of your collector to emitter voltage is equal to summation of your collector to base voltage plus of base to emitter voltage. Hence here VCB collector to base voltage is equal to VCE minus of VB. Next, transistor biasing. The basic function of your transistor is used as an amplifier, and it could be also used as a digital gate or your logical gate. So the we would familiar application of your transistor is it should be used as an amplifier. When it is used as an amplifier is in active region. So the process of your raising the weakest signal without any changes in its general shape is referred as a faithful amplification. So what does mean by faithful amplification means is, so without any distortion at the output and without any clipping at both sides of your output of a positive as well as at the negative side of your output. So you should not have any clipping signals, or it should not have any distortion. Then it must be a faithful amplified output. So for a faithful amplification, These are the three criteria which we require. The first one will be the emitter base junction is forward bias. Second one will be the collector base junction must be reverse bias. And the third one will be the proper zero signal collector current. So these are the three criteria which you require essentially in order to have the faithful amplification. So without any distortion, without any clippings at the output. First one will be the emitter to base junction must be forward bias, and the collector base junction must be reverse bias. Third one will be the proper signal collector current. So we have so many methods for biasing. So fixed bias, collector to base bias, self bias, emitter bias, as well as base bias with the collector and emitter. So these are our five types of your biasing techniques. So base bias, on collector and emitter feedback biasing methods. So familiar one is fixed bias and self bias, as well as emitter bias. So let me deal with one by one. Okay. So right. So is it clear, everybody? Is it clear, Nana? Okay. Now, so this is the importance of your. So we could obtain these characters. These are the, you already familiar with this characteristic. So it resembles the output characteristics of common emitter configuration. Yes. So now in a common emitter configuration on x-axis, we have taken your output voltage. On vertical axis, we have taken the output current. So now these characteristics we could obtain by applying the fixed values of your DC voltages. So now in order to obtain these points A and B, so now let I am taking a simple circuit where that simple circuit so this is your simple circuit we have here, so which can be utilized as an amplifier. So now I said, so you could also like this, we could also apply it. So now just see this, Nana. So now, so directly we have given, this is the AC signal which you are superimposing AC input. Now in order to apply the biasing, we have to forward bias our input junction. So using voltage source, let it take as we have taken in common emitter configuration VBB. So through a resistance RB, I connected VBB to the base, and through a resistor, a series resistor or your load resistor, let I take this as a RC. So we have coupled the VCC. So this VBB can make that input junction forward bias, and this VCC can make that, so you are connecting this AC input with respect to a common terminal. So your base is connected with the AC input to the common terminal. Now this VCC is connected, plus VCC we are connected, so can reverse bias your output junction of the transistor as you connected emitter to ground. So this VBB can makes your transistor to forward, and this VCC can makes the output junction to reverse bias. So with this, your transistor is operated under active region. So when it is operated under active region, so in addition with this two DC signals, after biasing, we are superimposing an AC signal for amplification. So the smallest or the finest magnitudes of AC signal is applied as an input to the transistor, and from this collector or the output terminal we would have the output. As I said, common emitter configuration will give 180 degrees phase shift output with an amplification. For example, the smallest magnitude which I have represented with millivolts of signal, if I am applying, then I could get the voltage in terms of volts. So now for the positive signal of input, you could get the output which is in the form of, so you could get a negative voltage. So for the negative signal of your input, we are getting a positive output voltage. Why we are getting this out of phase output? So that I'll tell you later. Right. Now here the input base current. So in order to analyze this DC analysis, so we have to connect the AC signals to open circuited. So for a DC analysis, the AC input signal must be kept to 0. For AC analysis, the DC signals must be grounded. Okay, so we have to short that. Okay, right. So your AC signals must be disconnected from its input circuit in order to do the DC analysis. As already I mentioned, so your output characteristics of this DC analysis, as we have on x-axis VCE and IC on y-axis, then we have this variation with the IB values, with the fixed values. Now, so this is the operating point or the quiescent point. How we could get this quiescent point and how we could get this A and B point. So this line which can join A and B nodes is called as a load line. So why we call this as a load line is, now here our collector current. Now let I take the KVL at the input side. So now if I just disconnect this, so then my current at the input is IB. So input current is IB. Now here one more thing I wanted to explain. So as I am taking two voltage sources, so here in order to avoid that, let I take a VCC, and that only I will apply with your VB shunt voltage I have taken. So hence I have connected like this. Okay, right. So now here we have the voltage. So now applying here, just I will discard this portion. So as your capacitors are open circuited for your AC analysis, so your AC signal is disconnected from this circuit to do your DC analysis. So VBB minus of the amount of drop across here, resistance RB is IBRB minus of VBE base to emitter junction voltage is equal to 0. This is your KVL when I am applying at the input. So from this equation, I will find it out what is the amount of base current. IB is equal to VBB minus of VBE divided by RB. So as I said, this is a fixed bias circuit. Why I said this is a fixed bias circuit is a fixed amount of base current is flowing through the input circuit with the fixed values of your DC voltages anyway. It is VBB is constant, and that depends on the resistor value which you connected at the input circuit, which is the RB. So VB is around, it is a junction voltage, so around it is 0.7. This is also fixed. So here in your fixed biasing circuit, we are maintaining the amount of steady state currents or the base currents. So by taking the fixed amount of voltages on your input side as well as on your in series on your input side, so with the magnitudes of VBB and your RB, constant magnitude of IB is flowing, and based on your base current or the input current, you would have the output collector current which is dependent on your base current. So IC is beta times of your IB. Beta times of this output collector current is dependent on your base current, and that base current is dependent on the magnitudes of your VBB and RB. Now, next, so in order to find the output collector current, so let us apply the KVL on your output terminal by just open circuiting this capacitor C2. So for an AC signal, your capacitors behaves like a open circuit. For the DC signal, your capacitors are behaving like an short, because since the frequency of DC signal is 0, when the frequency of DC signals are 0, so X, the reactance offered by the capacitor XC is equal to 1 by 2 pi FC. So the reactance offered by the capacitor for a DC signal is very high. So hence it is simply for the DC analysis, it can be replaced with a open circuit since it is having the highest resistance. So for an AC signal XC, so if I am applying a very high amount of frequencies, then denominator is more 2 pi FC. So if F is infinite, for example, I have applied infinite frequency, then reactance offered by the capacitor become 0. So hence your capacitor for the AC analysis, you have to replace this capacitor with a short circuit since it is having the 0 resistance or the reactance. And for the DC signals, your capacitors is having it offers a heavy amount of reactance which is infinite, which could be replaced with a open circuit. So now when I open circuit this terminal, so then amount of current here, when I wanted to find it out the output collector current, so I could have to apply the KVL on your output side. So VCC minus of ICRC minus of VCE is equal to 0. So from this, you could find the collector current IC is equal to VCC minus VCE divided by RC. So here also the output collector current now depends on your collector resistor as well as the fixed values of your VCC. So here the collector current or the output current is dependent on your load resistor, hence we named this line as a load line. So now in order to find this amount of maximum collector current, IC as IC is equal to VCC minus VCE divided by RC. Maximum amount of current flow occurs when collector to emitter voltage is 0. So IC maximum is equal to VCC by RC, and so here we have just noted that load as E, or your maximum collector current when it is flowing is when VC is 0. So next, the minimum amount of collector current is flowing when VC is maximum. So there IC is 0, hence the minimum amount of current flow in a transistor IC is 0. So hence here VCE is your output voltage. There the output voltage is, it has to be equal to VCC. So now IC becomes 0 when it happens whenever VCE is equal to VCC. So hence we have just put another node which is B on your x-axis with IC is 0 and VCE is approximately equal to VCC. If I join these two nodes, then we would have a load line. Why we call this as load line is, so the collector current or the output current of a transistor depends purely on your load resistor or the output resistor which is connected at the output terminal. So your output terminal in a common emitter configuration is collector, hence it is So it depends on the collector resistor or the load resistor. So here it is called as a load line. Now, so as I have established my biasing using the fixed DC voltages. So since that we would have the quiescent point it might be at this point, or it might be at this point, or it might be at this point, or it might be at this point. Okay, let I take the same points A and Q as well as B. So now, so here if I superimpose my input signal at this position, so when I superimpose my input signal at this position, so here our output for a positive cycle, it is allowed into the linear region, hence I would have a negative cycle. But for the negative cycle, cycle of input, your junction voltage, your input junction voltages are moving towards the reverse bias. Hence, there is no amount of current flow at the output. So collector current IB is become zero, IC is also zero, and there is no amount of current for the negative cycle of input. So amount of voltages or the output voltage VCE here for the negative signal is zero, but for the positive cycle of input you have the negative cycle of output. So hence there is a clipping. So you have applied magnitudes of both positive as well as negative, but only for one cycle of input you are getting the output, and for the other cycle of input you doesn't have any output. So there is a distortion. So where you doesn't have any output, so that is defined as a distorted signal. So this distortion takes place for entire half cycle of your input. So due to this the losses will be very high. So I could not place my operating point. So your DC signals applied voltages like VCE must be equal to VCC IC when it is zero. So this voltages magnitudes may not be applied since you have the distortion. Next point, let I take this node A. Now, so at this node A, if I superimpose so I established this node A voltages and current, the stable state DC voltages and currents on your transistor. And thereafter, I just connected the AC signal. If I connected the AC signal, so now negative cycle of input is comes under the linear region, where the positive cycle of input is comes under your saturation region. So where you doesn't have any collector current over there. So negative cycle of for the positive cycle of input, the output voltage is zero, because since our output junction is forward bias, but the input current is zero. So now hence the collector current is zero. Now for the positive cycle of input, the amount of output voltage is zero. So let I draw that output. So for the positive cycle of input, you have the negative cycle of input, which is zero. But for the negative cycle of input, you would have the amplified output, since this comes under your linear region of your transistor. So hence here half of the cycle of your input, for that input you doesn't have any output, we have a distortion or a clipped output. So the power loss will be very high. So hence only 50%, the efficiency will be 50%, since half cycle of input may not be amplified at the output. So hence the operating point may not be chosen at your near to your saturation, not to near to your cutoff region, but it has to be chosen at this exactly at the user. So this exact at the midway of this 2 points of A and B, if we place the operating point, so a faithful amplification can be done with your transistor. So the positive negative half cycle of output will get, for the negative cycle we will have the output voltage which is positive. So since both magnitudes of your inputs, positive and the negative voltages, are amplified at that transistor without any distortion, if I place my, if this can happen only when your transistor is operated under a fixed biasing and a proper biasing with the fixed values of DC signal. So with this, so we could have the non-dist or the we doesn't have any distortion. So now, so it should not be chosen at your saturation as well as at your near to your cutoff region. So like this, so we would have this advantages of your fixed bias. So now only the thing is here in your fixed biasing is, in order to bias your circuit, we used the DC voltages. So base to emitter junction voltage, one we used here, another one we used at your output collector to emitter junction. We are sorry, collector to base junction in order to reverse bias, that VCC we use. So do DC supplies we used it. So now to avoid that that uses of your two DC supplies, we are moving to the self biasing technique. And in self biasing technique, we could eliminate that utilization of two DC supplies using a single DC with this potential divider network, and by providing your fixed bias voltages. So fixed voltages, not fixed bias voltage, fixed voltages. We be with this R1 and R2. So this voltage across this resistor R2 is applied as a base to emitter voltage. So with that, my if I superimpose my input signal and with this additional VCC signal and this additional components of R1, R2 and emitter bypass resistor which is connected at your emitter terminal. So we could manage that stable conditions, or the operating point must be kept at exactly at the midway of your load line. With that, we could have the faithful amplification at the output of a transistor. So these are the analyzation parts of your voltage divider network, like I did for your fixed biasing. So now we will calculate that Thevenin voltages, since we have R1 and R2 potential divider network. So in order to find the base current and its collector current relations, we just replaced VCC R1 R2 with a single voltage source VTH with a series resistance, Thevenin equivalent resistance RTH. RTH is the Thevenin equivalent resistance which is R1 in parallel with R2. VThevenin is the voltage at your base to emitter junction. So voltage across here R2 is the Thevenin voltage. So VThevenin is equal to the amount of current flow through this potential divider network is R1 and R2 is VCC divided by R1 plus R2, and the amount of voltage is I into R2. So I into R2 is VCC divided by R1 plus R2 into of R2 will give the Thevenin voltage. So now, so base to emitter, so IB current, and these are the relations. So which I am applying the KVL on your input to find my IB current in self bias or the voltage divider biasing. So IB is equal to VTH minus of VBE divided by RTH plus of beta plus 1 times of your RE. So next IC is, so using your output, applying your KVL at the output loop, we could find here. So VCC minus of, you could write like that also, minus VCC plus of ICRC plus of ACE plus of IERE is equal to 0, as IE is approximately equal to IC. The amount of output voltage VCE is equal to VCC minus of IC into RC plus of RE. So next, here in your self bias, almost out of all these 5 types of biasing techniques, so we could prefer the voltage divider biasing technique. Next, bias stabilization. So why we require the stabilization? So now, as we already mentioned here, just to see here, the base current, your collector current is equal to beta times of IB, and base current is equal to VTH minus VBE divided by RTH plus of beta plus 1 times of RE. So IB also depends, the base current depends on beta collector current also depends on your beta factor, whereas here that beta factor so is depends on your temperature increase. And base to emitter, so IB is equal to VTH minus of VB, where base to emitter junction voltage. So this is your base to emitter or the input junction voltage, where it can vary from 7.5 millivolt per every degree Celsius due to your temperature increase, and as well as IC naught. The collector current is equal to I alpha times of IE or beta times of your IB plus of IC ICBO. So this ICB, the collector current is also depends on your reverse saturation current or the leakage current, where that reverse saturation current depends on the temperature. So almost it can double for every 10 degrees rise in the temperature. So these are the three factors which can vary the stability of a amplifier. So in order to stabilize your transistor which is acting like an amplifier, so we have to avoid this variation in these parameters. So like we will define with the stability factors. So like so S is your change in collector current with respect to your change in reverse saturation current. S dash is your change in collector current with respect to your change in VBE. S double dash is change in collector current with respect to your change in your IC no beta. So here the stability factor, so we could have to manage the collector current in spite of their variation in its with respect to its reverse saturation current beta as well as your VBE changes. So if we maintain that stability using the biasing techniques, we could have the non-distorted output as well as the stabilized output at the amplifier stages. So this is about your session for today's session. So now as I said here, S is equal to beta plus 1 times of your 1 minus beta into DIB divided by DIC. So in a fixed biasing network, it is almost if the change in DIB divided by DIC, if I ignore this, approximately equal to 1 plus beta times. So hence the fixed biasing circuit is not preferable. So we could use the voltage divider biasing as the stability is more, so it doesn't vary the conditions, the DC conditions on your transistor. If the temperature increases, the parameters may not change. When the parameters doesn't change, your collector current kept constant and you doesn't have any clipped outputs and clipped stages of your stages at your output. So a faithful amplification is done at the output. So both the input positive cycle as well as your output input positive and then negative cycles are replicated at your output with a proper amplification. So hence we will prefer the cell biasing technique rather than the five types of the remaining four types of your biasing techniques. So this is about your session about your biasing. Okay, so all the best for your exam. So we wanted to give your 25 questions for your internal. So all the questions are objective type. Okay, so they'll decide when we will conduct your exam. So based on your tentative timetable, we will conduct your exam. So don't miss that exam. So if you have any doubts before your exam, you could ask me through WhatsApp or through your CR. Okay, so we will be available. Okay, and we uploaded your unit wise material in your website kmitonline.com, as well as you will also share these PPTs in your website. Okay, thank you, ma'am. So after your exam, internal exam, we wanted to start your third unit. Okay, that's it, ma'am. Okay, for today's session. Thank you.